I taught at the same school for 6 years. I even did my student teaching there. And last year I did something maybe a little bit crazy and I went to a whole new school. I was still in the same district. It really wasn't that far away, but it was a very different type of school and just completely different. So I wanted to have a little chat here, level with you, music teacher to music teacher, and talk about kind of things that I didn't expect when I went to a new school as a music teacher. So if you're a music teacher, you're going to a new school, or you're thinking about going to a new school, here are some things that you might want to, you know, just have in mind. But first, we need coffee. Iced coffee, because it is hot outside. So let's do that, and I will meet you in the office. Let's. Okay. There's a good girl. Nyla loves ice, and I love iced coffee. I should get my notes, shouldn't I? I did. I prepared. I got things prepared. Made notes and everything for you. You're welcome. Look at me working during the summer. Okay, let's go chat. Whew, okay, we have coffee. We have a dog who's currently not being obnoxious, so hopefully we can get this thing done. Yeah, so I already mentioned a little bit. If you are new here, hi, I'm Becca. I'm an elementary music teacher. I taught at the same school for 6 years, and this year I went to a new school. There wasn't like anything super dramatic that happened. I just got to, you know, 6 years at the same place, and I was just ready to go. Honestly, there were some things I didn't love, but there's so many things that you don't love at any school. And I was really hoping that going to a new school would give me, one, just like the fresh start that I kind of wanted, and two, I was really hoping that it would bring my stress level down. And we'll talk more about this at the end, but oh my gracious, it has. So we'll talk through all the things that surprised me this year going to a new school, and then at the end I will share more about like my personal thoughts and feelings about my personal thing. Now obviously this is gonna be totally different depending on where you're coming from and where you're going and how long you've been teaching, and like so much is so personal, but let's chat about just a couple of those things that I wasn't expecting, because I kind of wish someone had given me a video where I could have had some plans going in. But anyway, here we go. All right, so number one, I did not expect how long it was gonna take to set up my classroom. I have been in the same classroom for 6 years, and I did my student teaching there. So when I got there, I already knew what it was gonna look like. One, two, I kept most of it the same, because it was already working. And I just, you know, made little improvements year after year, added stuff here, changed things here, and I really underestimated how difficult it would be to set up a new classroom, and especially a new classroom with new everything, you know, like you don't know what stuff you have going in, you don't know what the best place to put those things are. I have tons of open shelving, which is horrible, it's so dusty, and I had to pull everything off the shelves so that I could see what I had first of all, and so I could clean it, because it was disgusting. There was no music teacher there for like 6 months, so at the end of the year it didn't really get put away as it might have been if it had been me. And so just like pulling everything off the shelves, changing it, and then figuring out, you know, what the best thing is for each area, and all of those things I really underestimated. Now maybe you don't care as much as I do, but wow, I don't feel like I care that much about classroom decor and organization, but it made a huge difference. So just like the amount of time to spend going through stuff and figuring out what you have supplies wise, and figuring out where you're gonna put it, and figuring out how to integrate your stuff, and just all of those things took way longer than I anticipated. It was a good solid like month before I had things in a fairly organized fashion. And the good thing is that now, actually at the end of the year, I completely redid my classroom. So I'll link the classroom tour down below. That's from before I rearranged all the furniture. Now going into next year, I already know some things that I liked better. I already have some things up on the walls, and I can kind of adjust from there. Now I did get a huge influx of Orff instruments at the end of the year, like during post planning. So I am gonna have to figure out how to store those. I'm looking for either like rolly carts or like tables or anything. So if you have anything creative for like playing, like I want them really accessible so we can use them a lot, let me know down below. But that was number one, was just wow. I was not expecting the classroom to be such an ordeal, and it made it so much worse because the air conditioner was broken and it was like 100 degrees in my room. So anytime I went to work in there, I was just like dying, and then I got COVID. That didn't help either. This year is gonna start so much better. I just already know, because hopefully the air will work and hopefully I won't get COVID. And we'll be rocking and rolling. It was a really rough first week of school, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, that was number one. Number two is I really underestimated, I really did not expect how difficult it would be to form relationships with new students. I taught at my school for 6 years. Every single student who was there, I had taught since they were in kindergarten. Like, I knew them, and we had relationships and we had bonds and we had all these things. And I got to this new school and I was like, you don't have that. And it takes a really long time to naturally form those relationships with students. And really, that I think it's just that year over year thing that you get when you have that natural year over year relationship with students. And I severely underestimated how difficult that would be. You know, like last year, 5th grade graduation, I was like bawling my eyes out. This year's 5th grade graduation, I was like, okay, bye. Like, and that doesn't mean I didn't connect with some of them, and some grades more than others, and it just, I don't know, it just feels different. And I teach such sweet kids. Oh my gosh, the kids at my school are amazing. They are so sweet, they are hilarious, like they are so funny, and they're so smart, and like they're just so great. I love them, they're great, but I just don't have that like feeling that I had with the other students, and I just really think it's time. So that was the whole thing. Now the other thing that kind of goes along with that, not just like, oh, I miss the relationships, but what tactically was difficult was when you know someone, they say something and you do this, but when the kids don't know you, I'll like say something and they don't do what I'm anticipating them doing. And so there was a lot, especially, oh my gosh, the first few months, I was like, this is really difficult, because I just had to really figure out how, you know, like basically teach them my language. And especially in music, we're saying weird things anyway. And so like I have to teach them, you know, when I say this, this is what I mean, and simple things that they don't have drilled into them. You know, like we pick up our instruments, we go to Magic X. They didn't normally do that. Or we, you know, like the way that we sit, they were not used to. And the way that like I'll start singing, and usually my kids just jump on in, and they would wait until I invited them to sing with me, which was really odd and interesting. One of my favorites is, you know, I usually sing, "Here we go." And the first couple of times I did that, I would sing, "Here you go." And I'm like, that's where you come in. That's your turn. It's your turn now. And so just like little things like that. It's not, you know, deal breakers, but it did make it a lot more difficult just to like, because they have to learn you, and they have to learn like, when you do this, this is what you mean. And so there's just a lot of rituals and routines and things you say that I did not expect. And I did not think, oh, these kids don't know all of those things. And so it has definitely been a learning curve. We definitely got better. We got better. You know, we had a whole year. And so by the end of the year, it was a lot better. But just overall, it was very interesting to just see from like, you know, from the outside being like, whoa, this is weird. And just how much of a difference it makes when you are at the same school for year over year, because they just get you better. So I'm excited for year 2, because they're gonna get me better. But if you're going to a new school, make sure that you are thinking about those kind of things and being very explicit about what you mean when you say something. So make sure that you explain them fully instead of just kind of rolling through how you might normally do with students who know you a little bit better. Number 3 is I had to catch students up a lot. Going to a new school, teaching music is not the same as like math and science, because math and science tend to be a lot more, you know, you got a curriculum and you do the curriculum. But with music, I don't know about y'all, but we don't have a curriculum. We have resources, but we don't have a curriculum. That's why I make all my stuff myself. And so we have standards, but not all music teachers follow standards. And like I said, they didn't have a music teacher for a while. And this is, you know, just a few years off of COVID. And so there were so many things that just pointed to the students were not where I would like them to be. And so this first year, I spent a lot of time at catching kids up, teaching them how I wanted them to do things. Like, oh my gosh, playing rhythms. I'm like, you always say it and play it. That was one we still are struggling with at the end of the year. But just really trying to nail down those fundamentals that I want them to know was a lot. So this year we didn't get through a ton of stuff, to be honest. We didn't get through a ton of concepts. I would have preferred to get through a lot more, but we just didn't. Which a lot of it was because I spent a lot of time in review. A lot of it is because I spent a lot of time in getting to know them and really trying to form those relationships with students. And so I focused at the beginning of the year of kind of like fun and musical experiences over, you know, like teaching, you know, direct concepts. So I'm hoping that we can speed things up a bit in the next few years to hopefully get us on a track to where I would like them to be. Which kind of goes to the next one, which is that you just really don't know what you don't know before you go there. I would say especially if you have always been at one school and you're going to like your second school ever. If you've been to a few schools, then you might be more used to it, but going from one school to the new one, it's like, is this normal? I said that all the time. I was like, okay, what are we supposed to do? Like, here is what I think we're doing. Is this normal? And some things were just little things, but just constantly like, is this how it's supposed to be? You know, it's like, I used to, at my old school, I'd be like, is this normal or am I crazy? And so now I'm figuring out like, oh, those things weren't normal. And so just, I'm not finding a good example right now, but there's just lots of little things that you'll be like, oh, it's different and I wasn't expecting it to be different. One big thing was things like concerts. So I got there and my team is amazing. My team's so wonderful. I love them, but they're great. And they had already set up like concerts for the year and stuff like that. And so I came in and I just inherited all that. And I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. And so we did concerts like the way that they had always done them. And it is not the way that I would have done them. And for the first year, I just went along with it and kind of went with the flow. But next year, there's going to be a lot of changes because things like that. Like, I didn't know that they were going to expect so many kids to be in the winter showcase. I had to spend like 3 months essentially teaching first grade and second grade stuff for their concert that we did in December, which was a really big problem because that cut into teaching concepts, and it also made it really difficult to teach the actual curriculum that we are supposed to teach because our county does this thing called Musical Explorers. It's actually out of Carnegie Hall, but our county does like our own version of it, and so we're supposed to teach the younger kids about 3 different styles of music. Then they go to a concert, and they get 3 more, and they go to another concert. It's super, super cool. It's really great. I love it. I didn't have any time to teach it this year because I was not anticipating that I was going to spend 3 months working on concert stuff. And so like, those are the kind of things that like, you just don't know until you get there. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff, whether it's that, whether it's, you know, like what clothes are acceptable to wear because every school is different, or, you know, who do you call when you're going to be late? Those things are different at every school. And so there's just a lot of stuff that you really can't anticipate because you don't know what's going to happen until you get there. And overall, I really didn't anticipate how difficult it was going to be going from one school to a new school, just having that, just, you know, it felt not quite like a new teacher all over again, because I'd been teaching for a while, like I knew what I was doing, but it felt very, very different. And so I did not anticipate how difficult it was going to be going to a new school. I did think like, oh, it's probably going to be difficult because I'm gonna have to learn all these new kids and names and things like that, and that does take a while. But there were a lot of things that I didn't expect that were harder than I thought they would have been. And so now that we're at the end of the year, you know, actually I'm filming this over the summer, so I finished 1 year, and by the end of the year things were getting so much better. And so I'm really looking forward to next year being like ready to go, know what we're doing. Hopefully, we'll see. The other thing I didn't expect is that this was the best year of my life. Even with all these difficulties, even with all these things that came up that I wasn't expecting, this year was so great. And the reason I'm really harping on that is because I had thought about leaving my school for a while and I didn't. And so probably like the 2 years before, I was like, maybe I'll leave. No, I won't leave it. And, you know, like kind of on the fence like that. And I finally took the leap, and I was very nervous, and I was so nervous all summer. And y'all, it was so worth it. Like, I can't even explain how much better it has been at my new school. And of course, obviously this is going to depend on where you're coming from and where you're going. But the reason I want to harp on this is because I really didn't realize how bad it was. Even the other day, husband was talking, we were like at a party. I don't go to parties, but we were at like a party with his networking group, and someone was asking me about it, and I was like, well, you know, I wouldn't say I was miserable. And he was like, I would say it. You're definitely miserable. And I was like, was I? Like, was I really? And it was just like so many things that I just really didn't anticipate how much better it could be. And so if you're thinking about going to a new school, I can't guarantee that things are going to be great and wonderful. I can't guarantee that things are going to be better, but I can say that if you are thinking maybe there's something better out there, maybe there is something better out there. And I can't guarantee it. It's going to depend on where you're coming from and where you're going. But if I had known just how much better life would be, I probably would have left a long time ago. And I'm glad I didn't. Like, I'm really happy for my journey. I learned so much in my old school. I loved those kids. So they were not easy, but I loved them. And I, you know, worked with them day in, day out for 6 years. Like, we bonded, and it was great. I don't want to diminish that, but there were so many things that have just been so much better. And I can't tell you all of them because I still work in the same district and I don't want to get in trouble. But what I will say is that schools are very personal. And so you might be a better fit for one school than for another school. Even at my current school, there's some people who have been very, very miserable and have been just hating everything and just think everything is awful. And they left because they were like, I can't take this anymore. Whereas I'm over here, I felt really bad one time. Somebody was complaining and I was like, I feel like I'm just skipping around like, da-da-da-da, like life is great. I teach the music and we're having a great time. And so again, it's very, very personal as to like where you fit and the culture of the school and just like kind of the way that it's going. Different schools have different focuses. And so depending on all of those things, you might be a really great fit for a school or not a great fit for a school. And that also might change. You might fit for a while and then it's no longer the best place for you. And that's okay because you learn and you grow and you learn more. And as you do that, sometimes it's necessary to move. So the reason I'm doing this video is, one, if you're going to a new school, I want you to just have a few things in mind. But the other thing is I wish I could go back and tell younger Becca just how much better it could be. But I can't. So instead, I'm here telling you. So I just really want to share that happiness and that vibe, and I really hope that wherever you are headed that you feel the same way and that you are just like, this is the best thing ever. I'm so glad I'm here. And if you're not, then you know what, you can find another school because there's a lot of schools. There's a lot of hopefully everything's great. Hopefully I maybe quashed a few fears, because it can be really great, but also there are a lot of things that you're just not gonna know. So anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.